Welcome to Calm Your Crazy. I'm Kiana Lambert, and tonight we are going to be talking more about how reality works with frequency and vibration. I didn't have a podcast last week because I was under the weather, but we are picking up strong this week with frequency and vibration and channeling, tarot. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about beliefs and the way that the patterns run in the simulation. And we're going to recap first what the simulation is. So it's a hologram, quantum computer hologram simulation, and everything runs on patterns, like a Fibonacci sequence that continues forever. And those patterns are made up of given things. So like nature has its patterns for the creation of different types of like sea life. Everything has its own frequency and vibration, and everything that is frequency and vibration is energy, and that energy is also data. It carries information in that frequency. So everything is run on a frequency pattern, and when it comes to what you create in your reality, that frequency pattern is based on your subconscious programming, which is everything that your nervous system has built into your body, recorded into your body, from your DNA all the way up until now. So that is the pattern that the system runs. And until you become conscious of it, then that's when you interrupt it. And it's hard to stay conscious of it all the time. But when you lose yourself, you can lose yourself back into the simulation, or you can zoom back out and be the awareness of it. But when you become conscious is when you can really start intervening and controlling it. When you're not conscious, that's when it runs on the pattern. So when it comes to everything that you want to create, when you want to do it consciously, you have to do it with your belief. Your belief is directly proportional to what you receive. So you have to not only believe in yourself, but you have to believe in what you are doing. You have to believe in the creation of what you want. So let me use and I used this today in one of the videos that I made, but we're going to use a quartz crystal. So people believe in crystals, right? And they have these crystals that represent each chakra for clearing the chakra, for clearing the energy lines in the body, and they'll use these crystals, right? So at one point or another, somebody got the idea or the belief that these crystals had this ability. And then that belief was handed down, and it expanded and changed and did all kinds of things before it got to you. So when you believe the crystals and you believe these things about how the crystals clear energy, that belief comes from somebody else's observation. This is not something that you observed yourself. You adopted it. You adopted that belief. And when you practice it, it works. So it creates a positive feedback loop system that feeds your belief, meaning you believe that it works because somebody else told you to believe it works. And then you tried it and it did work. So you continue to believe in that, which is totally normal. But it is your belief in it that causes it to work in the first place. See, we are so powerful. We create the simulation and we play it simultaneously. And we are so powerful that we create everything unconsciously. So we create parameters, which are beliefs, and those parameters are rules about what is created. So the rule is that a crystal quartz has the capacity to help you with your love life if you believe in it. So that means that anybody who adopts this belief is going to adopt the belief that the rose quartz, the parameters for its existence and what power it has, is to help you with love. So that is a creation. Somebody created that. You adopted that as a belief, and that has become manifested. And it works because the power that it is given from you and the first person who ever created it and the subsequent people who believe in it. And the way that it becomes real in this reality is that crystal quartz is the lowest energy state, has a low energy state. So the reason for this is if it had a high energy state, it wouldn't be able to take in any energy. But it has a low energy state so that it can take in energy. So when you are using the crystal quartz to help you with love, you are using it to absorb the energy that is not the frequency of love, so that you can clear any emotional blocks that you have. It goes into the quartz because that's your intention of it. That is the belief. Those are the parameters. Those are the rules. So you create the issue of having the issue with love, and then you would create the solution of having the crystal quartz and the belief that there's an energy blockage there, which gets removed by the crystal quartz, and then you are more open to love. Do you see how the entire story is created from you from beginning to end? And all it requires is the belief. And the blockage of love to begin with comes from the subconscious programming that we have from our upbringing that tells us about love. So it is all created from beginning to end by us, for us, so that we can have this experience. And that takes me to the next part, which is the channeling. So your brain is a receiver of frequency, and your brain is going to tune into whatever frequency you tell it to. That's why when you go out and you get bombarded with frequency when you're in a big city, it can be a lot for your nervous system. But your brain can tune into frequency and receive information. And if your nervous system is quiet enough, then you are able to receive this information. If you did a comparative analysis study on every single person who has arrived at consciousness or has had some type of experience, the common denominator between all of them is their calm nervous system state. One gentleman has said that the eye floaters in his eye are actually aliens, and he has communicated with them as he's been concentrating on the floaters in his eye. And you're going to ask me, what does that have in common with everything else? Well, does that have in common with monks in Tibet? Well, the monks in Tibet are sitting there letting their monkey mind do whatever, and then they're focusing on their breathing or whatever technique they have. They're focusing on it and breathing. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm sitting there concentrating on my eye floaters, my nervous system does not believe that I am being chased by a cat and goes into a parasympathetic response, which is a rest and digest, which means the nervous system is calm, which means that whatever this man is tuning into with his brain is coming from his calm nervous system. And he is tuning into a frequency where he is picking up on people, entities, whatever, speaking to him. And he is associating it with his eye floaters because that's what he started to focus on abstractly when he heard them respond. He went into a brainwave state that tunes into consciousness, tunes into frequency, and he started to communicate with himself. That leads me to the next thing. He's communicating with himself. Why? Because he's the observer in his life, in his reality, and he is sharing that he was focusing on his floaties. He was focusing on his floaties, and then he heard these entities speaking to him. Everything begins and ends with him. He's creating it. He's tuning into it with frequency, and he is creating it. And what happens is, this is the mind twister. Don't think linearly, think recursively. So he is creating it, and simultaneously as he is creating it, it is existing. When they discover a new petroglyph, geoglyph buried in the ground or wherever, that is simultaneously being created in the past. Because there is no time, and everything exists as once. Everything exists as at once, excuse me. So when he is doing this, he is instantly creating it. And it is appearing, it is happening, and it is part of the timeline as soon as that happens. That leads me to other channelers. Now, I don't channel because, I feel like I'm talking to myself, which I already am. But I guess, I don't know, I never have tried. That's actually just occurred to me. Well, why not? Let's see what happens. I don't know. But I don't channel, and I don't know how to channel or whatever. But one thing that I've noticed, and I knew this before my near-death experience, was that people like Esther Hicks and Daryl Anka, who's Bashar, that was them communicating with them. And this is more evidence of what I'm going to say. I didn't put this together back then. I just knew intrinsically that, or intuitively, that Daryl was just talking with himself. And then, of course, later, he's the observer. There is no time. He's creating it instantly. So Daryl Anka is instantly creating Bashar, who is an alien from another world or civilization that's communicating to him. And Esther Hicks created Abraham and other spirits that she channeled to get the message across. And both messages are very similar. So is mine. But they used what they needed to use for the time period that they were delivering their message, so that it would be something that they felt safe to share, and it would probably be received better in their minds. So, for example, Esther Hicks is a woman, and in her peak time, that was around the time when it hadn't been that long since, a lot of men took the cake for the amount of work that was done, or they would publish things that their wife actually painted or wrote, things like that. And it was very much a patriarchal time. And it still is, but it was even more so back then. So Esther Hicks couldn't come out and say, it's me saying this. She felt safer. She felt the message would be received better if she created Abraham, which her subconscious programming told her would be acceptable. Not only is he a man, but he is also bearing a Christian and Jewish name that would be widely accepted. And even if it wasn't widely accepted, most people would recognize it as religious. So it's a marketing win-win. And I'm not saying that's what she was thinking of. I'm just saying that subconsciously that's what it looks like. So, but she was definitely just talking as herself and talking with her message from what she was tuning into. And that is going to upset some people, and I get it. But it's going to be okay. Daryl Anka, I like Bashar, and I like Daryl Anka. I like Bashar because he is aggressive, and he has a bit of a condescending tone, and he is sarcastic, which is something that I lean towards more in my humor. So I enjoy him. But here's the thing. What I know of evolution and frequency is that frequency vibrates at a specific rate, and then it goes into another dimension, which vibrates at that frequency and that rate. And then it vibrates and vibrates higher, and there's infinity number of frequencies in dimensions in between, and it goes on for infinity. So whenever they've done simulations of, the way that humanity is going to evolve, into these type 1, type 2, type 3 civilizations. It's like a mathematical progression, and you can see where things change. Well, Bashar is supposed to be an advanced alien being from at least a type 2 civilization. But he portrays himself and has human emotions that correspond to a frequency that is very, very low in a human frequency in this dimension. So unless there's some other explanation that Darryl Anka provides, Bashar is very obviously an alter ego of Anka's. Because Anka, as a person, whenever you see him speak, he's a little bit of a shy, mousy kind of person. And Bashar is not. And so it appears as if he uses Bashar. Bashar has all the strength that Darryl wants. And Darryl feels safe giving the message he needs to give using Bashar. But Bashar's from a type 2 civilization that doesn't correspond to emotions that correspond to an ego or pride. Condescension comes from pride, comes from ego, which either corresponds to a frequency in a human level emotion, which is a dimension that the civilization that Bashar supposedly is in would have evolved out of millennia ago. So they're Darryl Anka's emotions, his alter ego. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's absolutely creating Bashar speaking to him at the time. So he still has that, but it's all a creation, and it's all channeling from you. You're everything and everyone, and there is no time. So if you just stick to those rules, like you understand, they're speaking to themselves, and they are tuning into that frequency. And the reason that I know that they're speaking to themselves is because they're tuning into their own frequency. Every single life has a frequency. You don't have the same frequency of this life that you did in your last one, because they can't be the same, or else you would be the same person. So no, you vibrate at a different rate. Darryl Anka has a frequency rate that corresponds to the frequency of Bashar. And that's how they're able to communicate, but it's all coming from Darryl Anka. So everything is you creating to interact with yourself. It doesn't matter what point in time it is. It's still you interacting with you. And this leads me to the tarot and the frequency I said that I was going to talk about. So when you are using tarot, you are using something to focus your power. You're using something, you want to know the future, and you've created the parameters and the rules and the beliefs that the only way for you to be able to do that is to use a set of tarot cards. And that helps you focus your energy and helps you focus your power. So instead of just asking what's going to happen in your future and then sitting there and visualizing it and choosing it, because no future exists. This is what I have with tarot, is that future does not exist. You create it, you choose it, you walk towards it, and it's always moving because you're always changing your mind. So there is no future. So when you're sitting there and you're doing tarot, you are in a specific frequency, and you are reading in that specific frequency yourself and the possibilities that you see for yourself in a specific timeline and a specific reality based on the frequency that you are in when you are doing the reading. I know, that was a lot. Okay, you are in a specific frequency when you're doing the reading, okay? I'm not talking about when you're listening to the reading, because that's a different way. When you are doing a reading with tarot, you are in a specific frequency. That is your baseline frequency, which is everything you believe about yourself based on what you've experienced, plus whatever mood you're in the moment. That is your baseline frequency. That is your frequency when you're doing the tarot. It corresponds to a reality. That reality is in a future that you are anticipating and focusing your energy on at the moment and thinking about. You are creating it in that very moment. You thinking about it is the creation of it. So you are creating a future and simultaneously creating it and reading it at the same time. And it only corresponds to the frequency of emotion that you're in at that particular moment. And when you read it, it's at a specific frequency. It's ejected from your voice onto whatever recording device you are using, and then catapulted if you upload it to your social media. That is a specific frequency. You just tuned into yourself, you created this reality, and now you're reading about it. You're telling the future of this reality you just created from the frequency point that you are in. And when you upload it to the internet, and you shift out of that frequency because life moves on, your baseline frequency may stay the same, but your mood changes, your choices change, your reality shifts. You are no longer in the reality of the reading you just gave. However, you gave that reading, it was in a frequency, somebody is going to listen to it. When they're in that frequency, it will resonate. It will come to them when they need it the most, because they're in that frequency and they need to hear the message that corresponds to it. As soon as they log into their social media or wherever you've posted that, they will get it. That's how it works. With your frequency, your vibration, your time, and then communicating with yourself throughout space-time. So the version of you that needs it is going to get it when they're in that frequency. And that's how everything works together. So everybody is you, just vibrating at a different rate, at a different frequency, and you are interacting with yourself in a very complex way in order to create different experiences for this simulation, for this game. And every single level that you have, every single thing that you decide you want to play in your simulation, in your game, corresponds to your frequency. Your frequency, your baseline frequency plus your frequency of emotion. Change your baseline frequency means you change your outcome, you change your reality. You change the game, you change the level. And there are many ways to do it, but you have to change who you are. Who you are never changes. Like the way that you change your outcome never changes. Who you are changes. But the way that you have to change your outcome never does. So that is how the simulation in the game works. You choose different levels and you go for it. And you can change your levels at any time. It's all the unknown. It's all subconscious programming, but you can change it. When you use your nervous system to relax, you open up all the possibilities because your frequency of emotion expands and you get to tap into more energy. More energy means you have more to create from. It's like the more energy that you are able to pull in, the more things that activate around you because your resonant frequency is higher. So you get to attract and make things more alive. So I want you to imagine that when you are trying to shift to a new frequency, right? You're trying to have this reality that you want. The frequency that you're currently in is the reality that you're currently experiencing. And you walk around and everything is black and white except for everything that vibrates at your frequency. And that may not be very much. If you come from a negative frequency install, meaning your life before was a challenge, you don't know what happiness feels like. So you don't have an idea of what expansive frequencies feel like. So you're going to have to learn that. So when you start learning what that feels like and are able to expand into that, become that, embody and hold it, and then take action from those expanded frequency states, what ends up happening is that more things come alive to you in color. So you're walking around and everything's black and white, but the higher your frequency is, the more things that you're able to activate and play with in the simulation because they're activated by your broader energy, your expansion, and your higher frequency of emotion. So the higher it gets, the more that you're able to access things around you, the more things have a resonant frequency with you, and the further your energy is able to reach for the things that you want to experience. So everything's frequency and vibration. And the more that you change yourself, the more that the game stops being black and white around you, and you can start interacting with things as they become alive, or as you give them power because they're resonating at your frequency. When you understand that this is how it's working, then you really pay attention when you're out, and you start to stay in your body and operate from the present moment, which is where everything happens, and where you'll feel the resonance of what comes to you. If your nervous system is calm and you are walking around and you are having experiences and taking action, you are going to feel the synchronicity, you are going to feel the expansion, and you're going to feel what resonates for you, because it's going to be attracted to you like a magnet. So you don't even have to worry about searching for it, because it will come to you without you having to search for it. All you have to do is worry about staying in the moment and enjoying every piece of it and being aware and present. Calming your nervous system and staying in your body too. So that's another way that you can look at frequency, vibration, channeling, and how everything is connected through space-time. And then start being a conscious creator. Everything runs on a pattern until you focus on it and then consciously interrupt it. So become aware of what's running in the background, because it's you creating it and you can stop it. You're the pattern and the pattern breaker. So anyway, that was a short little sesh, not quite 30 minutes, but that's okay. I hope you guys got the message, the gist of it. The purpose of doing all this is so that you can remember who you are and start consciously creating what you want. This is a normal part of the human evolution. This is the story arc that I came down to play. So when you come down here, you can choose to play different stories, different levels, different games. And this is the one I chose because it advances humanity. And the one you chose is somewhere in there too. Only you know that. So start learning. If you can hear this, if you understood it, then it's for you and it's on your resonant frequency. So use it and start creating your reality consciously. And I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Good night.